if you have some resistance that you're wanting to replace with allowing, the more general you are, the less resistance there will be. And so the emotional description or reaching is a more general thing than the specifics. Here's the law theory behind it. Every subject is really two subjects, wanted and lack of wanted. Wanted and absence of wanted. And so when you pick up a subject, it's going to vibrate wherever you last left it, wherever you've trained yourself to be on the subject. So sometimes when you discuss with yourself an issue, it just starts reverberating right where you last left it. And so by describing how that feels, you diffuse the specifics of it, you make it more general. By defining the emotion, even if it's the negative emotion, it's less powerful than if you describe the specifics that cause the emotion to be there. In other words, you know that from conversations you might have. Think about being with a group of people and talking about something unwanted, and then everybody starts chiming in and chiming in and chiming in. That's what mob mentality is really about. You can really get things going, and mob mentality can be unhelpful or helpful. In other words, there's a real mob over here in the vibrational reality that's rooting for you. And so what you're describing is a good way to get it going. But as you've already seen us demonstrate several times here just today, when you take the bounce and you feel your way forward and you probe around for the feeling, eventually you'll feel so in the vortex and you'll be so long in the vortex that specifics will start lighting up for you. Mm-hmm. So we think what you're describing, and it's a really good thing, you just don't want to start lighting up specifics until you're sure you're in the vortex. Mm-hmm. That's what we're hearing you say. Oh. Well, if you're able to conjure a consistently good feeling so that you're consistently hanging around in the vortex, the ideas that support it and explain it and describe it and reflect it will begin occurring to you, as will rendezvous with real life experience. We think that what you've accomplished is more than the beginning place. Vague and non-resistant is excellent and far better than specific and resistant. The non-resistance is what you're rooting for. Mm-hmm. However, non-resistant and specific is a whole lot more fun than non-resistant and vague. So tune yourself and then get specific. Milk it. Milk it. For example, feel the synergy of it. So let's say that you're specific and resistant. So then you become less specific and therefore less resistant. And then you identify an emotion, and then you take the bounce and you identify consciously and viscerally what the emotion is that you're reaching for, like we just did. Mm-hmm. And then you focus there and you use words. You're really good at that, at describing the emotion. So you find the feeling place of that, and you stay there for way more than 68 seconds until you really get the reverberation of that well-being flowing within you. And then you begin to find more descriptive thoughts, maybe. But whether you get more descriptive thoughts right away or not, you've shifted your vibration, and now law of attraction is going to bring you together with others who are already there. Better stated, they already got there. They got there before you got there. You were the last holdout as a cooperative component, and now you have just felt your way into sync. And so now you're standing in this new place, and it feels refreshing. It feels eager, and you find yourself wanting to look around. It's like, here's a good example. Let's say that you have a very high standard of life, and you find yourself in this really horrible, dirty, stinky, beaten down environment, and you find yourself not really wanting to look around that much. There's roadkill and dead things, and you don't want to look around. You want to be general. But let's say that you're in a place that's beautiful and there are many, many things. You find yourself looking around. You find yourself gravitating to, wanting to find the specifics and taking great satisfaction in the detail that you're observing. Mm-hmm. So what we were getting at is in this environment where you've tuned yourself to the fullness of who you are, where you have capacities to understand and see things deeper and feel them fuller, now law of attraction is bringing you together with others, and now there's a synergy going where the conversations are enlivened. Everybody wants to talk at once. You've all got wonderful things that you want to say. Everyone's tuned in other words, and it's a lot more fun to be in an environment like that than sitting in a room by yourself. More specific and least resistant is the best state of being that there is. Eager to be aware of who you really are. Yes. To appreciate your physical perspective for all that it adds to all that is. Ready to focus your mind deliberately for the purpose of vibrational blending with the larger part of you. Ready to continue with the intention that you held even before your physical birth, to come into the physical environment and experience its perfect, balanced contrast for the purpose of coming to your own personal new decisions. Yes? And when each new decision emanates from you, even if it is in the moment of its emanation, coming from your awareness of what you do not want, still happy for the opportunity to personally perceive and personally choose. You like knowing that since you are vibrational beings, mostly, even while in this body, that you choose with your vibration, with your thought, with your focus, not necessarily with your words or your behavior. You like remembering that you can be saying, no, don't come to me, I want not that, at the same time that you're vibrationally saying, since I'm giving my undivided attention to you, you thing, you person, you situation, you condition that I do not want, my attention to you is a choice that I'm making vibrationally. Even though if I were to stop and think about it, if I were to be given multiple choices, I would not choose you, but my attention to you does choose you. You like knowing that? We like you knowing that. We like you knowing that this is an attraction-based universe, which means it's an inclusion-based universe, which means you get what you give your attention to. You get what you practice most with your thoughts. You get the vibrational essence of how you predominantly feel. What fun this has been. So, do you feel a little more vibrational than you did when we began? Do you feel more an emotional responder to the vibrational being that you are a little more than you did when we began? You're more true to yourself because who you are is a vibrational being. Who you really are is someone who knows your value. And when you're true to yourself, you know your value. When you're true to yourself, you love yourself and you love others, but it's easier just to love than to love others. It's easier to love some than to love all, and it's easier just to love than to love some. You get the sense of what we're talking about? The state of being is much easier to accomplish than you have formerly thought. So this for sure has been accomplished as we've played together today. You are more vibrationally oriented than you have been, which means you are more step 3 oriented than you have been. You are more blended than you have been. You're more sensitive to energy than you have been. You're more like the beasts of your planet than you have been. You're more allowing than you have been. You're more in tune with who you really are than you have been. So you feel better than you usually feel. You're more articulate than you have been. You're more fun than you have been. You're more frisky than you have been. You're more eager than you have been. You're more of who you really are than you have been. In other words, you have found and sustained the feeling place of who you really are for a longer period of time than you usually do. In other words, you're more in the vortex than you have been. But having said all of that, you're still free to move about. But the most significant thing that we want to say to you is You are more aware of and practiced at, even if you just listened and didn't speak. You are a better focuser now than you have been. Focuser of what? Focuser of energy. Focuser of energy. Focuser of energy. Are you a better focuser of thought? Maybe, maybe not. Are you a better focuser of energy? For sure. So, play with the idea that you think and feel and 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 think, feel and think, feel and think, feel and think. And as you sit to meditate, and it's really good to do it, sit to feel, sit to feel, sit to feel, sit to feel well-being, sit to feel secure, sit to feel well-being, sit to feel stable, sit to feel harmony, sit to feel love, sit to feel good, sit to feel well-being, sit to feel stability, sit to feel secure, sit to feel stability, sit to feel secure, sit to feel alive, sit to feel well-being, sit to feel secure, sit to feel worthy, sit to feel sure, sit to feel calm, sit to feel peace, sit to feel energy, sit to feel love, sit to feel source, sit to feel whole, sit to feel you, sit to feel you in the vortex, sit to feel you in your world, sit to feel you in your body, sit to feel you in your best planned body, sit to feel you in the body in your mind's eye, sit to feel you in the relationship in your mind's eye, sit to feel you in the financial abundance that you have created, sit to feel your wonderful world, sit to feel your stable and perfect world, sit to feel your productive government, sit to feel your cooperative neighbors, sit to feel the well-being of your planet, sit to feel the stability of your being, sit to feel the excellence of your world, sit to feel the harmonics of the variety, sit to feel the perfection of the variety. Make claim to what you've put into your vortex and feel your way there and sit to reach for the feeling of it until you've trained yourself into those feelings that then will engender the thoughts and the others with whom you can dance your creative, magical, perfect, ever-expanding, co-creative dance with anyone who has managed to feel themselves into the vortex where you are. Do that, and you will never again rendezvous with anyone not there where you are. In other words, shore yourself up and be who you are. And in doing so, find the joy that you have laid out for yourself, because anything less than what we have just described is not who you are. And that emptiness feels like various degrees of negative emotion, which will give you constant guidance to point you in the direction of feeling for the energy that is really you. We've enjoyed this more than words can say. There is great love here for you. And as always, we remain eternally in the vortex.